Forget everything you think you know about national policy. We're not talking about dusty documents and bureaucratic jargon. We're talking about a blueprint for global disruption. A silent earthquake that emanates from Beijing and sends shockwaves across every continent. Unpacking China's latest 5-year plan isn't just an exercise in sinology. It's a critical act of future-proofing. This strategic document, often dismissed as mere internal policy, is in fact a declaration of intent with profound global economic and geopolitical ripple effects. We are about to dissect how this meticulously crafted plan will fundamentally reshape international trade, ignite a new phase of technological warfare, and aggressively reallocate the world's resources. Prepare to understand the unseen pressures and the fleeting opportunities emerging for every other nation on this planet. What exactly is this silent earthquake known as a 5-year plan? It's far more than the headlines suggest. It is a deceptively opaque document that charts the course for China's colossal economy and its 1.4 billion people, but its true scope is global. Think of it not as a simple policy paper, but as the central nervous system of the Chinese state, directing capital, labor, and ambition with ruthless efficiency. To understand its power, we must look at its legacy. Past plans were the very engine of China's transformation from an agrarian society into the world's factory floor. They orchestrated the rise of gleaming megacities from quiet farmlands and catapulted the nation to the forefront of manufacturing. Each plan was a promise of ambition, and each delivery hinted at an even grander future. This latest iteration is no different. It's not a domestic agenda. It's a global blueprint, a powerful instrument designed to steer the Chinese ship of state through the turbulent waters of the 21st century, and in doing so to fundamentally alter the currents for everyone else. This is the document that determines where global capital will flow, which technologies will dominate, and which nations will rise or fall in the coming decade. This brings us to the Great Rebalancing, the plan's earth-shattering impact on global trade and supply chains. For decades, the world has relied on China as its indispensable workshop. That era is ending not by accident, but by design. Beijing's new clarion call is for self-reliance, a strategic pivot, that is, forcing a seismic shift in global manufacturing. This isn't just about de-risking. It's a calculated move towards a new form of decoupling, where China insulates its core industries from foreign pressure while simultaneously making the world more dependent on its finished goods. The consequences are already being felt in manufacturing hubs from Southeast Asia to Mexico, which are scrambling to adapt to a world where China is no longer just a link in the supply chain, but a self-contained ecosystem. This rebalancing act extends into the most critical sectors of the future economy. We are witnessing the dawn of a ferocious green tech race, and China is determined to win it. The 5-year plan earmarks astronomical sums for accelerated investment in electric vehicles, battery technology, and renewable energy infrastructure. This isn't just about cleaning up its skies. It's a strategic assault on a market poised to be worth trillions. For Western and other Asian competitors, this state-backed onslaught presents an existential challenge. They are now pitted against a rival that can leverage economies of scale, control critical rare earth mineral supplies, and dictate industry standards on a global scale. This industrial strategy will also trigger a massive commodity reshuffle, as the plan prioritizes increased domestic consumption and stockpiling of strategic resources. The ripple effects will cascade through global markets for everything from iron ore and copper to soybeans and lithium. Nations that rely on exporting these raw materials will find their economic fortunes increasingly tied to the whims of Beijing's central planners, creating a new and volatile dynamic in the global resource trade. But the plan's ambitions reach far beyond economics, venturing deep into the territory of geopolitical warfare. The central battleground is technology. We are now in a full-blown tech arms race, and at its heart lies the fight for semiconductor supremacy. Beijing views its reliance on foreign chips as a critical vulnerability, a chokehold that its rivals can and have exploited. The 5-year plan unleashes a national crusade to achieve chip independence, pouring unprecedented resources into domestic design and fabrication. This is a direct challenge to the technological dominance held by the United States, Taiwan, South Korea, and the Netherlands. The outcome of this struggle will determine not just who builds the next smartphone, but who controls the future of artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and military technology. It is a zero-sum game for technological leadership, and the stakes could not be higher. This technological conquest is not confined within China's borders. It is being aggressively exported through the Digital Silk Road 2.0. While the original Belt and Road Initiative built physical infrastructure, this new phase builds digital dominance. China is blanketing emerging markets in Africa, Asia, and Latin America with its 5G networks, surveillance technology, and digital payment platforms. This isn't altruism. It's a strategic expansion of its sphere of influence, creating technological dependencies that will be difficult to reverse. For Western powers, this represents a fundamental threat to their long-held influence. As a new digital bloc forms around Chinese standards and norms, this expansion ignites what can only be described as the data sovereignty wars. The plan reinforces China's concept of digital borders, treating data not as a free-flowing global commodity, but as a strategic national asset. This philosophy is in direct conflict with the Western model of an open internet, setting the stage for a fractured digital world and an escalating conflict over the governance of global data, the 21st century's most valuable resource. The plan's transformative vision extends beyond the economy and geopolitics, deep into the fabric of society itself, with consequences that will reshape global human geography. Welcome to Urbanization 3.0. China is moving beyond individual megacities and engineering entire megaregions. Vast urban clusters designed to integrate dozens of cities into seamless economic zones. This colossal experiment in social engineering will not only change the face of China, but will also have profound implications for global migration patterns. As these new economic powerhouses emerge, they will act as magnets for talent and labor, potentially redirecting migration flows that have traditionally pointed towards the West. However, beneath this grand urban vision lies a ticking demographic time bomb. The 5-year plan is forced to confront the stark reality of an aging population and a shrinking workforce, a direct consequence of its past one-child policy. China's response from raising the retirement age to promoting automation will have a dramatic impact on the global labor market. The world can no longer count on an endless supply of cheap Chinese labor to keep consumer prices low. This demographic shift will fuel inflation, force companies to reevaluate their production strategies, and create labor shortages in some sectors while displacing workers in others. Finally, the plan's security dimensions cast a long shadow over regional stability. Its objectives for resource security and maritime power directly intersect with the contested waters of the South China Sea. As China seeks to secure vital shipping lanes and tap into undersea resources, its actions guided by the plan's strategic imperatives could dramatically escalate long-simmering regional tensions, pulling in not just its immediate neighbors, but global naval powers as well. In the face of this new reality, how should the world respond? The challenge is to navigate this new world order, a landscape increasingly defined by Beijing's ambitions. The first step for nations is a strategic pivot, relying on old assumptions about China as a recipe for disaster. Governments and corporations alike must urgently adapt their foreign and economic policies to account for China's new roadmap, recognizing that competition will be the dominant theme, not collaboration. The era of engagement at any cost is over. A new era of clear-eyed strategic realism has begun. Yet even within this intensely competitive framework, slivers of opportunity exist. Identifying niche areas for innovation partnerships, such as in climate science or public health, will be crucial. These collaborations must be pursued with extreme caution, ring-fenced from the broader geopolitical conflict. But they offer a potential off-ramp from a full-blown Cold War. It requires a delicate balancing act, collaborating where interests align while competing fiercely everywhere else. Ultimately, the most critical task is future-proofing. We must prepare for a world where China's strategic autonomy dictates more global outcomes. This means diversifying supply chains, investing in domestic technological capacity, strengthening alliances with like-minded nations, and developing a sophisticated understanding of Beijing's long-term goals. Ignoring the 5-year plan is no longer an option. It is the definitive script for the next act of the 21st century. And whether we are ready or not, the curtain is already rising.